This is a how-to on removing the variator for Honda Elite 110, also known as the Elite 110 or the NHX110. So this is a 22 millimeter nut here. Since I don't have the variator tool to hold the outer pulley on the variator, I use a impact wrench. This is a cordless one. It works really well. Nuts off. The washer spacer, and this is a pretty big one. This here is the fins. It blows air, but it also helps cool by having more surface area exposed. The cool thing about the Elite design that with the fins, it creates air circulation through the drive, help cooling it down. This here's the intake for the air, and down here on the bottom is the exhaust for the hot air, and some of the belt dust will come out here too. So this and the drive, it's partitioned really well, so it flows really well, and surprisingly, the drive in here stays pretty clean from belt dust. So this is the outer pulley. You have the teeth here to engage the pinion gear, to engage the starter, basically. Usually when you take out the variator, I suggest you squeezing the belt in here so you give yourself some slack. So later on when you put this back on, it's easy to do. I usually reach back here and grab the back plate so that the variator doesn't open up in this slot, or and you lose your roller weights. Let's slide it out. Here's the bushing. Here's the variator. Here's the backing plate here. The back plate has 3 sliders. Usually when you change the roller weights, you should change these sliders as well. When these sliders wear out, they actually create a lot of slop. So as it spins, it rattles around a lot when they start to wear. And also the slider, the variator, when it slides in and out of this, when it starts more slop, it doesn't slide as well as if it's nice and tight, or nice and tight fit. These are the roller weights, 6 of them. And usually when I take the variator out and the roller weights, what I clean is I clean the ramps in here where the variator sits. I clean it inside the bushing area right here and up in the front side. And I also clean the roller weights. And I use normally I use Simple Clean and a toothbrush to clean all this. So I've already done all that. I've already pre-did all that. So now I'm gonna put the roller weights back in. The roller weights have 2 sides to them. If you look at them, one side, the weight itself is actually exposed, and there isn't the plastic isn't covering that metal there. And this other side, the plastic is actually covering the metal. So how you want to put this in? If you're looking at the ramps for the rollers itself, you should put it in so that the plastic side is pointing counterclockwise. And the reason for this is that when the variator spins, when the engine is spinning and the variator is spinning forward like this, right? If it's spinning forward, it's spinning, and the roller weights inside will actually push against the wall. So that's why you want that plastic side on the side where it pushes against the wall, so it doesn't. So you won't have metal on metal contact, basically. So plastic side pointing counterclockwise. My roller weights are actually still in really good condition. They have no flat spots on them at all. And this bike has 3,000 miles on it already. So 6 roller weights. You put the backing plate on, make sure the 3 slider parts are in there properly. Slide that on. You should also wipe down the bearing boss here, variator boss. Put that in, and when I put this in, I'm holding the 2 ends here so that the roller weights don't get dislodged. Put that all the way in there. And earlier I had squeezed the belt so that it gave me slack. That way it's easy to put the belt back on here. Usually when you don't do that, the belt fits really tight against the crank here, and it's really difficult to put that on. So it's a good idea to give it some slack. And also this slack here, this gap space in here is what you want when you put the outer pulley back on. Because if the belt's right against the boss, the outer pulley isn't able to make contact with the boss. And if you don't make contact with the boss, basically the variator is not really tight, so it's still loose. So if you give it that space, the outer pulley is able to make contact with that boss. Slide that in, hold it there, put the fins back on. So I think earlier I mentioned that the spacer washer here is a little different than a normal washer. It actually has one side is more open than the other. The side that's more open is to make clearance for the spline on the crank. So if you put it in the wrong way, this washer here will actually touch those splines, and it will damage the spline and you'll damage your crank. So make sure you put it in the right way with the open end, or the more open end, towards the inside. Put your nut back in. And this nut here needs about 80 foot-pounds of torque. And my torque wrench here on the hardest setting has about 80 foot-pounds, so that's a good coincidence. Put that on. Oops, wrong direction. And that's it. That's how you put on and take off a variator.